Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of BGLF The Odds, brought to you by BGL Financial Freedom. So, I want to talk a little bit today about the lessons are in the loss and your pain is your power, and turning that into fuel of learning and moving forward. So, those of you that know my story, I was emancipated when I was a sophomore in high school and, was working minimum wage jobs, emancipated, married, living in government housing, living on food stamps, and not knowing where my next meal came from. And we got out of that. It took us 2 years to get out of that. Bought my first house at age 20. So let's fast forward. I had pushed through a whole bunch of pain and just worked harder than a lot of people around me and became, pretty successful in my industry that I was in. And round two of pain comes. Economy crash of 2008. Arizona housing market was the worst it had ever been. And I had a divorce in there at that time. I can remember sitting in my house, and back then there was dealerships trying to give their dealerships back to the manufacturers because they couldn't stay afloat. There was people stealing copper pipes out of foreclosed houses in Maricopa County where I live just to make ends meet. The copper was worth more than a lot of the stuff that was going on. I can remember making six figures at the dealership that I worked at in the finance department. Couldn't get a job. I did mortgages for a couple months just before the crash. We didn't know the crash was coming. I mean, I guess you could say we did, but nobody really knew that it was going to be to that extent. I remember having $15,000 in commissions sitting in my pipeline, getting ready to close within 7 days. I had five loans that I was getting ready to close on, and all of them fell through because the banks closed down the programs. All of a sudden, they just said, "We're not lending money. Those loans don't exist." So I had to call those clients back and tell them, that we couldn't do their loans. They were all refis, and all five of those people lost their house within 90 days. Fast forward a year, my situation, I had some funds saved up and thought I had done everything the right way, and I couldn't find a job. Couldn't find a job at a dealership. Couldn't find a job. The mortgage industry was dried up, gone. And I can remember sitting in my sitting in my computer in my house, and I was on the phone with my mortgage company, just telling them like, "Hey, I'll do whatever. I just don't know how to make a payment. I can't get a job. There's no jobs." And they're like, "Okay, we'll work with you." And there were people getting loan forgiveness stuff for, I think they were because the predatory lending of, they were all the fictitious values of the homes at that time were crazy. So the banks didn't want to own all those homes either. I remember sitting on the phone and we were trying to figure out a solution, and we are gonna do a repayment plan and trying to figure out how to make all that work. And next thing I know, I get a knock on the door with an eviction notice saying my house has been foreclosed on, and I had two weeks to get out. I was divorced. My little girls were living with me at the time. They were 5 and 8 years old, and we didn't really have any place to go. I didn't have a job. Um, Luckily, I had a friend of mine that helped me get an apartment or rent a house. We had a little house that we rented, and I was back on food stamps as an adult in my 30s, being a single dad with two girls. And I think you just got to remember as we push through life that can't get too high and can't get too low. I remember applying for Home Depot. I wanted to just say, "Hey, can I?" And keep in mind, I had my girls. I remember going in and saying, "Can I just stock shelves or unload trucks at night? Because I need to be able to take my girls to school and I need to be able to pick them up from school. They don't have anybody but me to pick them up." And I remember back then the job paid like $8.25 an hour. And I remember them telling me that I was too qualified for the position. I said, "Buddy, I just need to put food on the table. I'm not trying to be qualified, or I'm not trying to take anyone's job. I just need a job so that I can put food on the table for my family." And he goes, "We're a little worried. our manager doesn't want you to work here because you had a management position at your last job making six figures and you're a threat in that position. We're not going to hire you. We don't feel that that'd be a good position for us to have you work there. So I couldn't even get a job stocking boxes and loading trucks and moving trees around at Home Depot back then. That's how crazy it was. So I just was hustling and selling what I could and doing things like that until the market kind of picked up and I got, back into I got that's when I got into insurance. I was doing health insurance. Health insurance was pretty good until October of 2010. Obamacare came and hit and we all lost our jobs. Shocking that you can be self-employed, not be an employee of somebody, be 1099 independent contractor and lose your job because the fair lending because of the Affordable Care Act, there was no commissions built in for agents. So I remember getting a call from United Healthcare, and they said, Brian, we see you're getting your residuals, from your previous book of business, but you haven't sent us any new clients. And I said, if I send you new business, are you going to pay me a commission if I do? And they said, well, no. And I said, well, why would I go out and write new business for free so that you could make money and I don't? And this is what they said to me. We're sorry you feel that way. What? So, free labor. The insurance companies were looking for free labor at that time, apparently in the healthcare world. But their hands are really tied because they didn't have the way that the laws were set up is they didn't have any structure in what they were required to do by law to pay agents. So I don't know how many thousands of agents that we had selling health insurance in this country that all of a sudden lost their jobs. So I went back into the car business in 2014. Was doing finance. I did five finance for the next, 3, 4 years. And then I've been doing life insurance ever since. And man, I can't tell you what a blessing it is to be able to help families with their retirement, with just, the lessons are in life, like being able to help people protect their mortgages after I've had a foreclosure and been in a situation where I thought that I could never be in a situation like that. And just being able to coach people through those processes when times are good. So everybody's around to want to help you when times are good, but you find out who's really there to help you when times are bad. And it's been one of the biggest blessings for me. Somebody asked me the other day if I had any regrets in my life, and I said absolutely not. Every every tough situation I've been in my life was for a reason. All those things happened for me so that I can do the things that I do today. I can relate to the people and the kids and my clients and all the things that we do today. So I know my lessons aren't over. I hope they're not as crazy as they have been in the past, but right, we just have new lessons. We have new things that we deal with, and we just continue to grow. We keep reading more books, and we just keep plugging ahead. So just don't be a victim. We've all gone through hard things, some harder than others. My story might be tame compared to yours, but at the end of the day, we've all gone through some stuff and we've all made it through the other side. The hardest thing that we've ever done is not the hardest thing that we're capable of. So I know the hardest things that I've ever had gonna have to do in my life haven't even happened yet. 52 years old, I still have a lot of hard things to do. So keep that in mind. Keep crushing life. Keep your head up. Just know that whatever you got to go through today, it'll get you to tomorrow and it'll get you stronger. It'll get easier and you'll make more impact. That's all I got today. Go be great.